Friends, welcome back to the next session on your first lesson, The Gentleman of the Jungle. I am LT Ratnakar, lecturer in English. Today I am going to deal with the background of this lesson, The Gentleman of the Jungle. Hope you have read this lesson. I have told you who is a gentleman. The person, one who is gentle in his nature. Can't we find such type of a gentleman in this society? We have many people in this society, but it is very difficult to find such type of a gentleman in the forest. But these animals here represents the Europeans. The Europeans are superior in every sense, I have told you, and they are known for their divide and rule policy, and they want to expand their colonial rule in this African continent. The lesson, The Gentleman of the Jungle, here the animal think that they are the real gentlemen of that forest. Their imperialistic attitudes, it is there everywhere, I have told you, in order to expand their colonial rule in this African continent. Written by Jomo Kenyatta. Here J is silent, you should not pronounce it as Jomo Kenyatta, it is Jomo Kenyatta. The story is in the form of a pebble, in the form of a fiction there, like your moral story, which was written around 1937 or 1938. The lesson represents the broader perspectives of the native people. As I have told you, how these native people, means the Africans, are innocent, they are uneducated, and they are accommodative. They want to accept everyone as they are without knowing their hidden agenda there. They want to worship the nature as their god and goddess. They are the real children of that nature. The lesson is also in the form of a teaching irony, I have told you in its title, on the colonization of the Europeans. What is colonization? It means when the greater power want to occupy the smaller countries to establish their rule and their regulations in that country is called the colonization. We know that these Europeans are superior in every sense. They are superior and they are enough educated, and they know how to cheat the innocent people, how to exploit others there. The narrator, Jomo Kenyatta, is from this Kenya. Kenya is a small country in East Africa, and he belongs to that Kikuyu community, that Kikuyu clan. There are many native people in this African continent called Kenya. In that Kikuyu community, they lived in their small community, in their small huts, and for them, their community is everything. They used to cultivate the lands. They have a piece of land here. That land is the sole means of their survival. They have depended on these lands, but when these Europeans came to that continent in order to expand their colonial rule, they came as their friends like traders, and gradually they have started cheating these innocent people, and later they have established their colonial rule in this African continent. The same lesson satirizes the racial discrimination between blacks and whites. You should know that how this color discrimination based on their color of the skin, how these dark skinned people are ill treated everywhere in this country. The racial discrimination you have, they thought that they are just like backward in every sense. These Africans are backward in every sense and they are not enough educated. Easily they can be cheated. The story begins in the form of a moral. You could have read the Panchatantra tales or the Jatka tales, where most of these stories tells us the victory of the good over evil, the victory of the good things over bad things or over evil there. Most of the moral stories would begin like once upon a time, so and so, like that. About these Europeans, I have told you how these Europeans are superior in every sense and they are known for their divide and rule policy and they are opportunist people. Now come to the background of this lesson, the gentleman of the jungle. Before I start this lesson, in the pre-reading activity, there is a note here. Narrate a story from the Panchatantra tales where good prevails over evil. You just look at this picture. There are some animals in the hut of this man. There is an elephant who is the minister, in that animal kingdom, and all these animals have occupied the living house of this native man called a person there, like the narrator. When this story begins, later it grows into a political allegory, and there is a teasing irony of the title is that the gentlemen of the jungle are not really gentle. That means the native man has to fight for his inheritance in the wild forest. In its backgrounds, I have told you there is a story between the man and animals. We know that these are the animals, but they do not share animal instinct alone, because all these animals, they have such type of imperialistic attitude in their behavior and in their attitudes. They also possess the rational faculty of man. They all think and behave like human beings. All these animals, because of their superiority complex, their imperialistic attitude, they all think and behave like human beings in that country there. In the attitude of the lion and elephant, one can see an air of superiority and imperialistic attitude there. In the attitude of the elephant, one can even recognize the colonial master and their greed for the colonial expansion there. But when this man, he knows that he is innocent and he has accepted everyone as they are without knowing their hidden agenda there, the man knows that an act of violence is necessary to throw away these Europeans from their lands. In your first page, there is the background of the lesson. In the late 19th century, when the cheap European powers divided Africa among themselves, when these Europeans, they are cunning people, they want to know how to cheat the others here and how to expand their colonial rule throughout this world here. The incident takes place in the late of this 19th century, when these chief of the European power, the Europeans came to this Africa as their friends and as their traders in order to establish their kingdom or their rule there. Immediately, Africa is a vast continent, and in order to establish their rule and superiority over others, they have divided Africa among themselves. But these Africans or the native people of this country are so innocent. They are so innocent, they did not know anything about their cunning nature. They could do this because the Europeans are superior, their arms are superior. But the African chiefs, they are innocent people. We know that they did not understand the meaning of the treaties when they were forced to sign these treaties by the Europeans. When they have started asking to sign those treaties, when where no one is permitted to ask any such type of question against their treaties, because they are illiterate, they are backward in every sense. As the result of these treaties, when the leaders of the African continent was forced to sign those treaties, they did not understand the meaning of that treaty, what that treaty is. As the result of that treaty, after their signing, they have lost the lands they had traditionally lived on those lands and cultivated. As I have told you, how these Africans lived in that Kikuyu community there. They have piece of land, and this piece of land is the sole means of their survival. They used to cultivate. Traditionally, they used to cultivate the piece of lands there. Their attitude towards the European expansion of the kingdom made it very clear in this pebble there. When they have lost their lands, later they have formed their own organization in order to get back these lost lands from the Europeans. In order to get back the equal freedom from these Europeans, they peacefully agitated and conducted some of the movements under the leadership of Martin Luther King Jr. and Martin Luther King Sr. and this writer Jomo Kenyatta are the some of the great leaders of this organization. Peacefully they have conducted, and later they got their freedom from the cruel hands of these Europeans. When they have lost their lands, the lesson brings us the expansion of their colonial rule clearly in this lesson there, which also reflects the attitude of the Kikuyu people of Kenya towards the European laws and commissions. This is the background of this lesson, and it was given in your first page there. Read this lesson once again. This is its background, and there are two moral note at the end of this story. Easily you could understand if you read this lesson. In next class I am going to explain you the importance of those characters and the committees are formed by the king of the forest and the minister. Thank you.